do you say, guys? Welcome to Elephant in the Room, brought to you by Lance's Lock, lanceslock.com. As you move on to the March Madness, Alabama in the mix right now, Auburn in the mix, a lot of SEC basketball at the top of the conference race, and in the NCAA, projecting to have a pretty good pool of teams. You got the NBA. How about NASCAR, which is running right now, and everything else? Well, Lance's Lock's got you covered. And don't forget that if you are going to bet on that stuff, if you're going to throw down a little money and have some fun, mybookie.ag, where they will price match 50% up to $1,000 on that initial wager. Always great to hang out with the man himself, Mr. Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. It's time for Elephant in the Room. And I see you look like you've lost about 25 pounds since I saw you last. Your diet must be really working.
It's working a little bit. Lost 4 or 5 pounds last week and a half.
Playing football, I'm sure like that was part of life for not for you, but for other guys. Like Shank seems like maybe he'd be a guy that would
shop in the perimeter.
Yeah. As he said, right? How much fun was last show?
Oh man, hard to beat. You know those guys. Again, we were texting after that show, and you really do when you're 18 to 22. Nowadays it's 26, 27, but back then, I mean, you take for granted those moments where you just have basically a podcast with no microphones.
Yeah, right. Every day in the locker room.
Every day is that kind of atmosphere. You're sitting there, shooting the shit with the guys, having a good time, and everything's funny. Nothing, you're not going to get canceled for anything. It's just locker room talk, having fun, guys being guys, and you take for granted that those moments when you just get to hang out and talk about whatever's funny at the moment and just build that camaraderie. I mean, those guys are like, once you share that experience, it's like having a brother, and
that's how it feels, man. I mean, it really feels like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. As soon as they come in, Ryan's got his arm around Shank.
I know. The funny thing is,
not too often you see a 300-pounder with somebody else having their arm around them.
Yeah. I've been like laughing about saying Unchained and me just thinking about a dog and cutting him loose.
I prefer it without the chains, Mick.
Yeah. It really has made me laugh a lot. But I've told you since
this guy thinks he's talking to Django.
Yeah. Well, that's what you guys explaining to me what. Ryan looked at me. He was like slave chains. I'm like, okay, not where I was at right now with my thoughts.
That's how I was sitting over here just shaking my head. I was like, I guess I got to spell it out for him.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is that we live back in a wooded cul-de-sac, and I have tree guys right now working.
Yeah.
Again today.
Oh yeah.
Right. And last time the guy dropped a branch and it hit my fence and broke my fence. And I'm like, okay, how bad is this? Because I got intel from inside, you know what I mean? From my wife. And so I'm like, so I wasn't really in tune like I am today.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how bad is I go out there? And of course it's like 3 planks. It's not even a big deal.
If you as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, right. You get that report. It's like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Well, you should know by now when your wife calls with an issue, it's probably 30% less severity than what it really is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it looked worse. We had these trees out here in our driveway, and storms would come through, and so I have a 2020 not Bronco. I had a Bronco in college, 4Runner, and one storm last year, a branch fell and broke the back, like the thing that's over the back, then at the side, and then another branch fell, and I mean, there's like a indentation in the roof.
You were done with it.
And I'm just like, okay, I got it. And I just got a new car. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking a chance anymore.
Yeah.
All you water oaks are gone. Magnolias, you're good.
Oh, see, I'm get them all out. I can't stand magnolias. Can't stand the leaves. Can't stand picking them up
It's a
all
lot
the time.
of lot of shit.
Oh, it's just whenever there's a storm coming through, like at my house, we have no magnolias, but all my neighbors do. And so before we had somebody doing our yard, it was me
Scooping all that up.
every leaf. And I was ready to just go over there at midnight and I was going to, Harvey Updike them, just get rid of them all. I was so tired of them, or cut them down or, something. But I can't stand those magnolia trees anymore.
Yeah, the thing about the magnolias, that when I look at the magnolias, I love them, but the pine cones are kind of scary.
Oh, whatever.
They look like a creature, like big pine cones with red things inside of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Stepping on one of them when you're barefoot.
Yeah. You don't want to mess with those things. Well, let's talk about Alabama making some headlines. They hired their offensive line coach, and they also hired their tight end coach. So, a lot of things becoming official today, including Coach Wommack, being announced as the defensive coordinator.
What was up with that?
Well, it takes a while to get those contracts in, even though we knew that it was kind of the real deal, but it just kind of took a minute to get there. But Alabama does have now a full complement of offensive coaches, I believe, right? So the
line coach has been hired, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's in place now. They got a tight ends coach now in place. Am I right on that, or am I wrong on that? Because that happened today, I feel like.
Yeah, Chris.
Over the weekend.
I'm trying to remember how to say his last name.
It's so weird now that these coaches are, regionally, you think of coaches the coaches in the South stay in the South, the coaches in the North stay in the North, the West stay in the West. Almost, it seems that way because when Coach Saban was here and, other places in the Southeast, it was just a revolving door. One guy got fired as the D-line coach here. He was in Tennessee the next year, maybe in South Carolina 3 years ago.
Ancestral.
Yeah, and now it's...
Well, with this staff, it's not that way.
No, that's right. I mean, it's a completely different landscape of a staff now. And they're not, it's not like Sal Sinceri, one of my favorite coaches to ever play for. He's, at Tennessee 1 year, back at Alabama.
Yeah.
Goes somewhere else. He's back Florida. He's back at Alabama.
Did you play with Vinny?
I didn't play with him, but I know Vinny pretty well.
Was he before you or after you?
He was before me.
Oh,
I think he left early. Had he stayed his senior year, we would have played together.
Okay.
But he left his senior year.
Well, the new OC is Chris Kapilovic, and Kapilovic was the O-line coach at Baylor, but he really never coached there. Kind of the same thing we had with Sam Huff. He went there from Michigan State, but he ended up coming here. So that's kind of weird too, how they do that. The coaches to me are as bad as the players when it comes to, jumping from spot to spot.
We've talked about this before. That's an issue that I've always had. I mean, either, coaches, if you're recruiting kids and promising them things to be able to up and leave before your contract runs out, I mean, that should be something that should be addressed as well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a big decision for kids. If there's not continuity within the program, I mean, whether firing a guy up and leaving, you should make a decision and stick with it, like these kids are held to account for, or at least used to be. I think it works both ways.
Yeah, right. Well, I agree with you, man. I mean, I kind of feel like they ought to have some kind of a set of rules, but
I mean, I think John Parker Wilson played for 4 different OCs during his time at Alabama.
How about
right?
that? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, sounds right.
I think he played for McElwain, Major Applewhite, who was OC when Shula was there.
I forget. I don't know. But yeah, every year was different.
It was like 3 or 4 different OCs.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the same thing now with these guys. Bill O'Brien and Tommy Reese and Nick Sheridan, so but
the thing with Coach Saban though is that his offensive scheme stayed in place.
Yeah.
All the verbiage was there. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, all the verbiage is pretty much the same for. I mean, all the plays are the same for each coach for the most part. It's just the vocabulary changes.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, some of the stuff, I mean, the protections were different between Florida State and Alabama. And like at Florida State for Jimbo, all the protections were numbers.
Okay.
Whereas at Alabama, it was all, it was words. Similar protections, but had different, a little bit of a difference here and there. But Jimbo was tougher to learn a protection scheme when it was all numbers based. There's 72, 73, 78, 79, 92, 93, 144, 145. You just had to remember the protections based on number alone, and you didn't have a name or like at Alabama, Jack and Jill was a 6-man protection, whereas at Florida State, the same protection or similar protections was 92, 93. And I always had to, when I was at Alabama, I'd hear Jack and Jill and I'd be like, all right, that's 92, 93.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then think of it that way and then make the mic call and be like, all right, now the back's on the opposite side. If you think even and odd, just
send us a sign. I mean, were you the guy that signaled the plays in?
Like I guess Jimbo's not coaching. It doesn't matter anymore, but
I love this. It's like coaching third.
Oh yeah, well at Florida State, so you had Roger and Louis. Basically, the play was going right with Roger, left with Louis. If you had, I mean, even numbers were right, odd numbers were left.
So if you put this up, that means the play's going left. How does the other team not know that?
Sometimes, and sometimes.
Is there an indicator?
Well, you had several different guys signaling in place, so they had to figure out which one was the guy.
Well, how do they know that?
Signaling. Well, they got to figure it out.
Well, how did the players know?
A guy wears. I mean, there's different guys wearing different weird vests or hats or different things. I mean, playing on the team, you knew.
So they'd be like, Jimmy's got it.
There'd be a dummy, and then you've got guys signaling in plays to the receivers separately from the quarterbacks because the quarterbacks getting the whole play, the receivers getting, formation and the play. Well, a lot of times formation was on those boards that we held up at Alabama.
Jeez. So would it have helped? I mean, I know Michigan got caught doing this, cracking these codes. Would that have helped?
Oh yeah, even if you just know run or pass. I mean, if they're running a play action pass and it's a pass all the whole time, I mean the backers aren't getting sucked in.
Yeah, right.
Action.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But yeah, I mean and towards my latter years at Florida State, it was all a number based system, and it's 1 was stretch, 2 was 92, 93, 3 was inside zone, 4 was a 5-man protection, 5 was a counter, and then 6, 7, 8, I can't remember what those were, but the numbering system was a certain play, and then Roger or Louis was the direction, and then we had signals for the formation first. But again, when you switch systems, basically every time you hear a play, you got to figure out what play that was, or at least that's what I thought. You had to compare that to what you used to run and then think of it that way, and then think about the different nuanced specifics that went into that play that were different than what you used to run. And then eventually you just created their own system in your head for the new system.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does.
But I mean, it is what it is. It's never easy learning the new vocabulary for a new system and all the different specifics, but it just takes time.
Yep. Well,
and honestly, I probably remember the Florida State stuff better than I remember just off the top of my head the Alabama stuff.
Yeah. Why is that?
Maybe I just one more year at Florida State than I had at Alabama.
Right. You probably did it more. Kapilovic comes from, like Colorado, Michigan State, UNC before that. You know, he was at Michigan State when they had Kenneth Walker running all over everybody. And he brings that experience in. He's actually been in the South before. One of his first coaching jobs in college athletics was at Alabama State. And he
Really?
spent 4 years there, I think. And so so he gets the South, right? Worked at Southern Miss. And this is a good hire. I mean, but again, we didn't hear a whole lot come out about who the possibilities were, which tells me that of the people that Coach DeBoer brought in, they're not very connected around the South, because we would have heard of it. We'd have like a list of people. I mean, think about
the high
it.
school coaches wouldn't have been able to handle. They'd have been.
Is it coming from
letting
them?
leaks go.
Yeah. Is it coming from the guys inside the building? I don't know, but it was so quiet, man. I mean, like, I didn't hear any names.
Oh, yeah.
And that's unusual.
Oh, it's very unusual.
Did you hear any names either? No.
I mean, I wasn't beating anybody down trying to figure it out either. But usually, and again, when it's a Kevin Steele, a Sinceri, Coach Kelly, one of those guys who have been around the blue bloods of the SEC.
Yeah.
Or the region of the Southeast, that word travels fast, and mainly because they know so many people. But that or their agent is pretty good at, leveraging deals.
Oh yeah. So now you got an offensive line coach. I felt like this was a position that a lot of Alabama fans were really concerned about. That they wanted to make sure that they got someone very good in this job.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to know whether they're going to be good or not? I mean, they're getting thrown into a situation that's never been dealt before. I mean, it'd be like, who's a baseball announcer that's the best of all time?
Vin Scully.
Yeah, it'd be like replacing him.
Yeah, it's true. Which Joe Davis did it. Not a bad job of it, but he's as good as he is, he's not even close.
Yeah. Well, when you've got childhood memories from certain people that have built a foundation for that long, nobody's ever going to replace that. I mean, when game day is 20 years from now, when Kirk Herbstreit's gone, I mean, you lost, what's his name? Lee Corso. He's pretty much going to be gone here in the next year or so.
Yeah.
Nobody can replace him, a young version of him. Pat McAfee does a hell of a job, but you still have that nostalgic feeling of watching Lee Corso commentate during those couple hours in the morning that you'll always miss,
Yeah. They hired Bryan Ellis as the new tight ends coach. He was the offensive coordinator at Georgia Southern. I'll tell you what.
Well, Georgia, there's been a lot of people after those guys, I feel like. Didn't he just take a new job? The head coach?
Georgia State's head coach went to become like part of the staff at South Carolina.
Okay.
So I don't know, that could have happened and I just don't know about it. But but the second tier of college football jobs are now being ransacked for their coaches.
Yeah.
And they're taking smaller, lesser titles on bigger teams than being a bigger title on a smaller team.
Yeah. Well, that's how you move up. They're probably getting paid more at Alabama's and Tennessee's and other places too. But yeah, here's what I'd say about that is that we're going to have to give these guys time. Time, or unless there's a blockbuster hire that comes out of nowhere that understands the landscape better, because it's going to take time to learn, for a lot of these guys, just a whole different platform of recruiting, a different kind of pressure.
Yeah.
A different kind of need to provide for these guys that they've never seen before.
Right.
It's going to take a lot more networking on the back end, support wise, to get these guys than just, hey, come to Alabama. We are Alabama, and these coaches are going to have to be creative.
I've
Coach
said that.
Saban was more creative than anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
That was my problem with Bill O'Brien. I didn't think he was creative enough. I thought he's a really good coach, but you see, like when Michigan won the national championship, they get the backup quarterback that's got skills in there.
Yeah.
Those you figure out a way to get players in position to be able to make plays. I mean, you just don't rely on the best quarterback
You
of all
get the
time.
Absolute most out of each position.
Yeah, right.
Whether it's if this guy, is a great route runner, but not the most explosive deep ball guy. I mean, you figure out how to put them in positions to succeed and make them look better than they actually are based on the one segment of talent that they may have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm with you. Ellis was the quarterback at UAB from 2007 to 2011, the new tight end.
Where's he from? Like born?
Let me find out. I don't know. Probably an Alabama guy, though. You would think,
he went
right?
to UAB,
yeah,
or somewhere in the southeast.
Let's look it up. But do you think is his career more successful as a former UAB quarterback or Sam Hunt?
I think Sam Hunt's probably doing pretty well.
You like Sam Hunt?
Yeah, and he doesn't have to recruit 18-year-olds, 17, 18, 16-year-olds.
How funny is that?
There's been I think Riley Green was a quarterback for Jacksonville State.
Was he?
In Alabama, yeah.
Are you planning on going to the Riley Green concerts?
Oh, yeah.
Did we talk about? I think we did talk about this. Yeah, because I'm probably going to go too.
That and
he's from Macon, Georgia. From my aunt and uncle are from there.
Not too far.
Houston County, spelled like Houston.
I would have definitely read that as Houston for sure.
Yeah, they'll correct you. So he was UAB, Western Kentucky.
Transferred
USC, no, quarterback coach and stuff.
I gotcha.
Western Kentucky again as the OC, and then Georgia Southern, and now he comes to Alabama. So, Coach DeBoer, had to fill in a couple spots. There's been a lot of talk about Ryan Grubb going to the NFL. He talked about that in an interview and basically just was like, this was a dream job for him, and I've said that before. Like, if you got a chance to go to the NFL and that's what you want to do, you got to take the opportunity. Not everybody loves college football like we do. You go there and the Seahawks are like,
dude, I mean,
huge compared to Washington Huskies,
Well, I don't think he's ever, he's never witnessed an SEC crowd and SEC atmosphere. I don't believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he understands the
heat,
that, and just the intensity of the situation. Of course, that can be a negative too. But what he's used to is West Coast football,
right.
and while Washington was good last year, you got more people at the airport greeting the head coach than you did at your spring game last year in Washington.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, Alabama, for the state of Alabama, there's no NFL team here, and it is the iconic athletic brand down here.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Kirby Smart was definitely on the list of coaches to take over for the Falcons. But if he would have went to the Falcons, there's half of the state that would have hated the Falcons for taking Kirby from Georgia. Maybe more than half.
Georgia Tech, is that who you're referring to?
No, Georgia going to the Falcons.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah, definitely.
Can you imagine that? They would not have been happy about that because Georgia football is bigger than Falcons football. Sorry.
In the state of Georgia?
Yeah. Wouldn't you think so?
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. And even in North Florida, Georgia is. And you've been to Jacksonville. You see a lot more Georgia tags than anything else.
Yeah. So, and this is like the heyday of their football. And if he swings over and goes to the Falcons, man, it would have been an uproar.
Oh, did he get a raise this year?
I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing. I mean, but he doesn't seem too concerned from reports about Alabama with Coach DeBoer, which is pretty funny to me after Alabama beat them. But he doesn't have to tangle with Saban anymore. Saban owned him. which is really crazy.
3-1? Was that right?
More than that. It was more than that. It was like 4-1 or 5-1. Like
he's the boogeyman.
Now he's the guy that everybody's gonna. But it just feels like things are changing. I mean, they almost lost to Ohio State in the playoff a couple years ago. If you can move the football, Georgia's always been susceptible to the passing game, which most college teams are.
Well, the passing game with the way college quarterbacks play now. I mean, Coach Saban had Bryce Young for a couple of years.
Yeah.
He had they played Georgia with Mac Jones, who to me is the most efficient passer, given his skill set. Coach Saban got the most out of Mac Jones than anybody could have ever gotten. And I say that Mac Jones was. I mean, if he was as talented as Bryce Young, I think he'd have been better than Bryce Young.
Yeah.
I think he was just unbelievable in terms of accuracy and efficiency. Getting the ball out, anticipating well. But Alabama had Mac Jones, and you had a first-year Stetson Bennett starting.
Yeah.
And so, but then you had the best Alabama football player of all time, Bryce Young, after that, and Georgia. I mean, what are you going to do against that guy? You can't stop him.
Yeah, not when he's got some targets.
You can try to slow him down and hope that he was like, it was like, what's his name? Deshaun Watson. I mean, Bryce, I think, was a better college quarterback than Deshaun Watson, but it was also kind of a different era. But you couldn't really stop Deshaun Watson either. He was so accurate and so talented and smart.
Did you ever match up against Deshaun Watson?
We played him and
Nah, he was great. I was there. He was great. He was a great quarterback.
Yeah. But yeah, it was one of those. I mean, 45-40.
That was a great game, man.
He's
like that guy. He had a lot of he had a lot of that Patrick Mahomes in him, where he could just backpedal and run around and then just throw it and find somebody, make plays. Obviously his career and his life have taken a different turn.
Yeah, had that all not happened, I'd like to see really where his career went, but it seems like it's just kind of gotten sideways since.
Well, you miss years of football. I mean, forget about, and I don't even want to talk about what he did or he didn't do or whatever. He's playing football again. But the time off definitely hurts you, man.
Oh, yeah. And it kind of beats you down into a corner, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, and, again, who knows what all that's true and what's not.
Yeah, I know. So it's when you roll around with big money, man, people are kind of eyeballing you for it. But then again, maybe he did, obviously he paid a lot of people. So I don't know. But I know that the NFL punished him and he kind of took responsibility, and then now he's back and he just doesn't look like the same quarterback anymore. He's still pretty good, but not great.
Yeah, he looks good. He just doesn't look like he has that edge like he used to.
Yeah.
Like when we were playing, I mean, you just tell he was in college. I mean, how much fun he had playing,
Did you talk to him walking off the field? Because I see a lot of times
he came over and congratulated me. We didn't sit there and talk for long. I mean, it was crazy down there, but he came over and congratulated me, which I appreciated. I mean, from what I know of Deshaun Watson, and that's private conversations with people that, I mean, everybody seems to like him now. I don't know about all that other stuff. I tend not to judge people unless I've had, personal experiences with them. But
so what's like when you're down there and that's happening? Like, what are people saying to you?
Oh man, it was
because I always see that. I see you guys like coming off the field, and I'm like, man, I wonder what's going on right now.
It's just, I don't know, it's just insane for me. There's, you had ESPN, and I remember Chris Stewart came up to me and we did an interview, and Holly Rose she ran over and was trying to push Chris out of the way. I was like, hang on now, this is my guy. I gotta do this with Chris first.
We both love Chris.
Because yeah, man, Chris is like I don't know, to me, he's like the and we're talking about Chris Stewart. But Chris is kind of like a traditional Alabama guy. He's got his, the guys that he covers for Alabama, he's got their backs. And when you're a player and you hear a guy like him on the radio and he's he's dogging the referees, he's pissed, that things aren't going Alabama's way. It makes you love it because you feel like he's got your back.
Yeah, he does get mad, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. And he doesn't, he's always, on the side of the Alabama players. And it just, that always stuck with me. And when I saw him on the field, and Holly came up, and I like Holly. She's really nice. But it meant, it's like a family member coming up to you when you're in that moment. You're my boy. And he was as excited as I was that we won.
Well, yeah, because both of you were getting rings. Like, yes. I'm looking forward to hearing him on the football calls this year. He does so good at basketball. I already miss him on baseball.
Yeah.
I just think he's just fantastic. He's a good dude and funny.
I love the basketball.
He's so fired up. Yeah. He's just so fired up. He gets so fired up. And he's on our channel. I mean, like, we're on the same channel. I said, we need to go up there and do their show sometime.
Oh yeah.
It'd be such a different show for them. They're very buttoned up.
Chris would be like,
yeah. What did these guys say?
Thought these were nice guys.
Yeah, they're drinking again. We're disrupting. We're just trying to disrupt the media. I mean, that's what, but it's been so active, man. I mean, just every time you turn around, it's like something else going on with Bama. Coaches coming and going, and
I know it's almost. Can you imagine being DeBoer right now?
Yeah,
at this point, I'm just shut it off. I'm like, yeah, just get us to August,
Yeah.
And then see where we are then.
Yeah. What a good dude.
But I am excited about spring ball.
I really think he's a great guy. I
do too.
Him, but I just believe that, and I think that there's just so many things that he's kind of having to deal with right now. Then he's got to go out and win football games.
Oh, yeah.
And the toughest part's going to be.
That's what it seems like. We're lost in all the distractions of off-season stuff, and it's like, hey, he's got to just be a football coach.
Yeah,
that's the main goal, is to win games here, not the optics of everything, not
right.
Not all the side conversations and side stories. Let him figure out how to win games, and let him do it his own way and figure it out. Because if not, you're gonna have like an Auburn situation. I mean, I feel like Auburn, everyone around the program's got their hands and they want to do things a certain way and pull a guy in different directions.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that's, funding the buyout that wants a say in how things are done.
Right.
And that's when you start getting, when coaches just can't have a full handle of their program. That's when you start really having issues for the next guy in line, because he's heard what the guy prior to him had to deal with. And,
that's how it was at Alabama before Saban.
Yeah. I mean, well,
I've told you that. It was that way. Like you had this booster and this guy and this coach and, and this athletic director and this assistant athletic director, and they're worried about this and that and this. And then Saban came in and was like, it was either his way or the highway.
Well, and that's how it's got to be to be successful. Now, it may crash and burn. The guy may not get it done.
Right.
But if you're going to give that guy the potential to win, he has to do things the way that makes him feel most comfortable in doing so,
Yeah.
I mean, be like being on the radio and somebody calling you, telling you what you could talk about and what you could and couldn't say. And
what's great is that's happened to me before, and now I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And that may change. I mean, you never know in life, like some of the jobs that I want, like that could be the case again. But it is nice when you get to call your own shots.
Oh, yeah.
you know, but you can't be wrong. I mean, you got to get it right.
Oh yeah. Well, it makes you focus a lot more and do
Yeah.
things. You know, well, when you're bought into your own system, which
Yeah.
you would hope you are,
Yeah. Right.
it creates that much more drive to make sure that you're right and that you prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, and you know what that accountability is called, right? Family, and you got
Yeah.
family. You got
Yeah.
that accountability that you can't get it wrong.
Oh
you
yeah.
know? And media, you know, just talking about this, media has changed so much. Where when I started, you were so worried about trying to sound a certain way, trying to project this image that wasn't realistic. You know,
Yeah.
now it's like, you know, you and I get in here and it's like sitting in the locker room. I had a guy tell me that he enjoyed our show so much last time that he almost peed himself laughing, you know, and we did 10 minutes on my channel because we were waiting on Ryan. So we just did that to promote the show. It was like the pregame of the Super Bowl, you know? And
we go about 80%. If we went 100%, people would be like,
yeah. Oh,
there'd be a lot of people that love it, and then a lot of people would be like, "Oh, I don't know, this is too much." It's like we were doing your show before, and Ryan walked in. I was like, "We're rolling.
Don't say anything.
We're rolling."
Yeah, right. Which is good, you know. But and then that show I thought was one of our best shows. Because it was just genuine, man. Like it was the best part about it was that it wasn't like totally super studioed. It was just more like, you know, you come in here in this building. I was looking at this building the other day and I was like, you know, I don't know how, because all it is like it's just a 8x16 building. But when you come in here, there's just a certain ambiance that we've created.
Oh, that's great.
You know what I mean?
I love it. I love it. You just come in here and relax, feel like you're in a man cave. Just, you know,
we're down a keg right now. I know
worked on that, didn't we?
I know. we still got the one. We got the Blue Moon, but we need I was thinking about it the other day, man. The next round may have to send me one of those Bud Light kegs. That's their been drinking me a lot of Bud Light lately. I know.
I had a Budweiser the other day.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's an old friend that I missed.
You know, when you hear, we're not going to go down this road and get off political on this. I mean, I was this close to start talking about. We won't get off political on this. But you know, it's like the worst part about it for stuff like that is there's corporate decisions made, and you got people that like. I mean, Bud Light distributors that I know in Mobile that
good
are
people,
hurt by
man. Good people that do all the distributing.
Yeah,
you know,
that are hurt by it more than anything, and it's just one marketing decision that's made. That I mean, it was an awful decision. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Like you. It's honestly, it's the it's probably the worst marketing in the history of marketing. I mean, like when you get that many people that don't want to drink something, you know, and I don't put myself in the category of really offended. I mean, I was more like when the thing that kind of irritated me was the marketing lady that came on that got fired and was talking about us
the
as
frat
being,
boy culture,
all that stuff.
Like,
I didn't. That's
your beer drinking. I mean, it's not even a frat boy. Like it's
like they were too sophisticated for us. It's like, well, wait a second here. Like, who are you talking about? You know? The whole idea of everything that I do is I want everyone to feel comfortable. You know, like everybody's, but don't, you know, you want that same courtesy extended. It's a two-way street, you know, and for somebody in marketing to refer to people that I would put myself in that group as, you know, it was kind of like, oh yeah, well, you know what, and a lot of people that actually worked for Bud Light felt the same way, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you this. I'm gonna reveal something. I didn't do it, but I was gonna dress like Dylan Mulvaney for Halloween at Floribama. Now I don't know if I would have pulled it off, but I just didn't have go in the Halloween. But somebody that works for Budweiser told me they thought that would have been so damn funny. Because by that point we were laughing about it, you know.
Gussie Bush was on the national championship team in 2016.
Really, from the
Yeah.
Bush family?
Yeah, he had that reality show there for a little bit.
Look, Harry Carey was
great guy.
Harry Carey's one of my all-time favorite broadcasters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I idolized him. That's why I wanted to be a Cubs broadcaster. You know, it's been hard for me to ever even leave my affiliation with the Cubs because I love the Cubs so much, right? And you know that just from talking to me. Like, I love them, and it's like in my blood, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it was from watching him and Steve Stone as a kid, you know, and just wanting to do that. And his thing was Budman Cubs fan. You know, like that was his song. Like, so when we were doing spring training for the Cubs, I was in charge of, I not only was on the broadcast, but I was also, this was Cubs.com, MLB.com. I was also the producer. So I got to decide what we put on the air. So since the Cubs were a Budweiser, Bud Light team still, and they partly own that content, we, you know, I don't say like, might have been 2015, somewhere in there. One of the spring trainings, we brought back the vintage Harry Carey commercials, the Bud commercials,
you can't
and
go wrong
people
with,
freaking loved them, dude. Like even to this day,
you can't. I mean, you put a Bud Light commercial on or a Budweiser commercial on, and you just throw a Clydesdale in there. I'm gonna love it.
Yeah,
you know,
the one with Peyton Manning and Emmett Smith is such a great commercial.
Oh yeah.
You saw that one, yeah. Like they're at the bar and he starts, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm throw me one, I'll drink. And then I was like, I forgot I like these a lot. So like, so that's
it's like you hear Dana White talk about what they do, where they put their money. I mean, the messaging was off, but I still think their values and now the Bush family doesn't own Budweiser anymore.
No.
But I think they do their best to carry that out. And I know that the Bush family has been kind of critical of Budweiser, you know, throughout the last couple of years. But I mean, before all that happened, to me, the most American beer was a Budweiser. You know,
right.
Especially on, I mean, 4th of July with the American flag on it.
Love those cans, man.
That was like all American right there.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right. I just,
if you're going to sell beer, just put a commercial on loving America, kind of going through the heritage of America, how your company was started, and throw a few Clydesdales in there.
Yeah,
that's all you got to do.
You love Clydesdales. I've heard you talk about Clydesdales a few times.
I love them. Oh yeah.
You saw them. What did you say you were in where were you? And you
San Antonio.
San Antonio, and you ran into some Clydesdales. You don't even know if they were the Bud Clydesdales.
No,
they were just some Clydesdales.
But that's you know that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Hell of a job by them.
I know.
You know.
I know. So I'm at the point now where if they sent me a free keg, I'd plug it right in. I would have done it anyway.
So you can be bought.
I can be bought. Yeah. But I like all beer, man. Like I did a beer show during COVID, started a beer channel, you know, drinking beer channel, like talking about beers and stuff. So, but now I'm like with you where I'm trying to lose weight. So having like, you know, craft beers, the problem with a lot of the really good tasting craft beers is that they're heavy. They have a lot of carbs, you know, so you kind of have to, you have to pick your drinks like responsibly, which sucks. Talk about your diet though. I heard you. What do you're still doing like bone broth and
bone broth and a couple eggs for lunch. I'll eat a little bit more at dinner, but like tonight I'll eat a few chicken thighs, some vegetables. And
you put any like sauces on them, or is this just?
Oh yeah, I mean like if I'm
a sauce guy.
Yeah, no, I put seasoning. I season them, throw them on the Traeger. But well, when I got done with football and I came back, and really when I got my second house, like moved into my second house from my first house, and we had kids, and I knew I was going to be home a lot. That's when I was like, all right, I got to figure out I'm going to be here a lot, so I'm going to just start grilling, smoking stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
How hard is it to smoke stuff?
Not hard when you got a Traeger. Set it and forget it.
What about green egg? I mean, green egg supposedly like everybody over here on North
Dude,
Shore
I've
seems to
had
be
this.
green egg people.
I've had this. Yeah, I mean,
Why
those
is that?
because they want to pretend they're hard workers, and sit there by their grill and want to sit by their grill and pretend they're managing the heat and all
My
that.
friend Bricken has like they come here, you go to his house, and he's like, the green egg has like doesn't have like normal charcoal. You got to have like a flamethrower to get the thing started.
Oh yeah,
You know what I'm talking about? You do that, and then but the food on it tastes
Traeger,
amazing.
I dial in the temperature I want. I press the button, goes to that temperature for as long as there's pellets in it, and I don't have to worry about it. If I'm doing a brisket, I start at about 10 o'clock at night, have it on a temperature, then I wrap it, do whatever I'm going to do to it, throw it back in there, reset the temperature, and it's done in 12 hours. And
You're like Buc-ee's. You're like a real Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Have you been to Buc-ee's?
Yeah, I've been to Buc-ee's. That brisket doesn't have shit on mine.
No, it doesn't. They're good.
No, in San Antonio, we started eating.
Are your bathrooms as clean as Buc-ee's?
My bathroom's pretty clean. Okay. Yeah.
Those Buc-ee's bathrooms are pretty amazing.
Wasn't that the key behind it? Was the guy said, I want to make a big
dude, for somebody that travels like me, like that's actually nice.
Oh yeah,
because I'm not sliding into hotels or Cracker Barrel.
I got a coworker that got me on the hotel.
Oh yeah.
It is. I mean,
it is what it is. Have you ever heard that saying before?
If we had a massive following, hotels would be like, what's going on here? Because people would start filling up hotels.
It'd be like the time I slid into the pool at the Phoenician. Crashed it a few times, and then all of a sudden word got out. Somebody recognized me.
That's the guy.
Yeah. No, that's that guy. Yeah, get him. Oh, sir, what room are you in?
Oh yeah, no, but so back to the Traeger egg argument. I've got one buddy. I got a lot of buddies with different stuff, but one of my buddies has a Traeger that's big on cooking stuff. Me and him teamed up against another buddy of mine two buddies of mine who are all about the egg.
Really?
Oh yeah. So we cook brisket and ribs. Have a neighborhood contest, and we kicked the shit out of them in the brisket and the ribs. So bad so that one of my buddies who was so invested in this egg bought a Traeger, and I gave him so much shit about it, he returned the damn thing. It was not even close. And because you have to wake up every hour just to go make sure that the temperature's right.
Really? Where do you buy these at? Is this like a
Ace Hardware, Home Depot, wherever, online?
I don't know any. I mean, like I don't have a grill right now, but it's something that
if you're gonna get one, I get a Traeger. Well, I mean, like especially if you're doing like football Saturdays. Yeah. If you're gonna smoke ribs and smoke brisket, or if you want to surprise some people with some brisket, get a Traeger because I mean, there's not much to it. I mean, I go to Mosley's in Mobile and to get them. I don't mess with the trimming of the brisket. I just tell them, hey, do it the way you do it. I get it. I season it, throw it on for 8 to 10 hours. Mm-hmm. Then I wrap it in tin foil, throw some Dales in there, and let it cook at a lower temperature until it hits 205.
Moors, man. Have you had Moors? I got a steak the other day.
Same thing, just a little less salt in it.
Yeah, I like Moors a lot. We did a steak. I swing by Greer's every once in a while and grab a steak.
Oh yeah, what, downtown or in Fairhope?
Fairhope, yeah. I'm Fairhope downtown, but yeah, love it, dude. Like, I mean, it's so good, dude. They've got great meat there, but I was thinking like it's just not the same, if you don't do it on the grill.
Yeah. No, you can't. You got to do it on a grill. Of course,
but we're getting close to that time.
Oh yeah, heard the sous vise. You ever gotten one of those? No. Apparently, that's how steakhouses do it. They put it in a bag and water, and the water heats up the meat till it hits whatever temperature you want. Then you sear it on both sides.
Really?
Yeah. Just throw whatever seasoning you want in that bag.
Yeah.
And then just sear it when it's done.
That's a good idea. It's I'm
a lot of
all
people
about
have gotten into it. I've never done it, but
no. I hear like the guys on the next round talking about the New York butcher shop, like in Birmingham. I'm like, man, I would love to swing by there and just your cut of meat, your cut of beef, your cut of meat. If you're gonna eat like steak,
oh yeah,
really
no, it's
matters.
everything.
Yeah, and then also like
because you
the
can
freshness in it too.
if you cook a garbage steak as good as you can possibly cook it, it's only going to be so good.
Yeah.
But I always, you need to go to Mosley's. Mosley's in Mobile. I've never been to the one over here, but the one in Mobile, and I know those guys real well. I mean,
so they know when you come in, they got you covered, huh?
Well, I mean,
you get that national champion.
I think they treat everybody the same, but I mean,
maybe
they just make me feel at home when I walk in there.
Yeah. I hear you. So we got spring practice is about to start, and a big topic.
When does it start? A month from now?
Like no, a couple weeks because the game's in April, right?
Yeah.
So how many weeks out is it? It's like 4 weeks out, right?
I think mid March is when it starts.
Yeah, right. So we're closing in on that. I think that there's a good chance that Jalen Milroe is going to be the starting quarterback, but I think that there's also a good chance that you go in as a new coaching staff and you say, "Hey, man,
I can't believe Ty Simpson's stuck around." I mean, says a lot about him,
Mm-hmm. But who knows? Maybe that changes after there's another transfer. I hope he doesn't transfer, but I'm just saying, maybe he goes in and he did some things in that game against good, South Florida, where you were like, you know what, the guy's got potential.
No, he's good. He's good. He's good. It's just, and you never know in college. I mean, it's all situational. It really is. You jive with a coach, whether they got the right system in place for your skill set. Whether you're a good fit for your team. I mean, there's so many guys in college that you never hear from, you never heard of, and then all of a sudden they make it in the NFL, and it's like, where'd this guy come from? I mean, there's so many. How you think about all the NFL guys that have played that weren't well known in college, and then all of a sudden they make it to the league and they're great players.
Yeah,
just weren't in the right situation. Some of them, Matt Castle. I mean, there's Kurt Warner, of course, but there's a lot of guys that you just never even played in college. Then all of a sudden they're starters in the NFL, which makes no sense, But
yeah.
Some guys develop late. Some guys don't really pick up on the work that it takes to be a starter until they get a little older and realize that their opportunity is almost over.
Well, and part of it too is coaching, man. I mean, just like whose system matches your skill set.
Oh yeah, or just how a coach speaks to you.
Yeah,
that to me is, in terms of quarterback development, that's probably the most important factor, is having a coach that can speak to you and communicate with you and make you, comfortable enough to have back and forth and really learn from mistakes, rather than a guy that you might not be able to relate to and not communicate with in a way that makes you the best player possible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's so much more important than what a lot of people realize.
Yeah.
Especially young kids that, geez, man, had I been able to go play at this age in comparison to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I feel like I'd have been a much different player. But, it all comes with learning and developing, and God, 18 is just so dang young,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is, man.
I feel like I'm really young now, but
yeah, right.
Learn a lot playing college football. That's for sure.
I'm sure, man.
More so around about people, I
wonder if we're going to look back and it's going to be like 20 years between the last championship and the next championship, because I say that thinking about Bear Bryant's tenure and the success that Alabama had, and, and how easy Saban made it look to get into the playoff every year.
You took it for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, People used to ask me while Coach Saban was there. I was like, well, we'll see in the playoff. I mean, the difference in those teams are the ones with, which team has the most leadership. Because, I mean, the talent is going to stack up pretty similarly for the most part, the top two teams at least. And then you're going to find out, was the team going out and having a good time all bowl week, or were they
pretty focused?
Yeah, focused in their, in their rooms or in the lobby with the team, just building chemistry and getting prepared, and not out partying. That's when talent only takes you so far.
Right. And how your coaches are too. Are your coaches out partying? Are they pretty focused?
Setting an example for you. But I don't know. It's going to be exciting. I hopefully we're not waiting 20 years, but you're going to see a lot of different teams win national championships and move up the ladder pretty quickly with the portal, and I heard an old teammate today, he was talking about having to rebuild teams annually, like Ole Miss, having a completely new roster for the most part, year in and year out at key positions.
Right.
Not going to take that long to build up a program anymore.
Yeah.
But how many guys did we end up keeping? How many scholarship guys are still on the team? 50 something?
I've never done that count. I know we lost like 10 when after coach left.
It was at least 18.
26 or something total, maybe 10, whatever it was, right?
So we got in the 50s. Remaining guys.
So you got a lot of great players that are still left. I'm going to Google just because somebody's going to be like, Mick, you're wrong. And I might be wrong. But I remember it was 10 that left after he left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of those guys didn't even give Alabama a chance they didn't meet Coach DeBoer. They just decided they were going to and honestly, the same thing with T-Rob. I mean, he did what he thought was best, but he'd be the defensive coordinator right now if he'd have stuck around. And I think a lot of those guys that transferred out would have stayed.
I like what we got at DC,
yeah,
with Kane. I've hammered that one home. I don't know how many times, but if you were to tell me 6 months ago, prior to all this happening, that Kane would be our defensive coordinator, I'd have said, okay, we're in a good spot. Yeah. You got something to talk about for 30 seconds?
Yeah, you go ahead and go outside, and I'll tell you what, that'll give me a chance to put my phone down instead of trying to figure that out, and jump on here and tell you that our show is proudly presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag, as you have some fun wagering on sports. Do it, parlays, you can do all of that stuff there at mybookie.ag, and if it's your initial wager, go ahead and take advantage of the promo code next round. That'll get you up to half to $1,000 price match on that initial wager. But NASCAR, which I'm probably the only one that enjoys watching NASCAR. I like to put like pizza money down on a couple cars and just watch. It's fun. College basketball, the NBA, you got baseball coming up soon, which spring training has officially started. So there's a bunch of cool things that are going on, and don't forget to lean on Lance's Lock, lanceslock.com. Lance Taylor, one of the great handicappers, man. I love talking about. I did a show with him on Disrupt the Media last year. We picked games and stuff. He's really good.
Well,
and for his help,
Floribama next year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You and I you talk a big Floribama game, but I haven't seen you down there.
I know. Well, I hadn't been going down there as much.
It's time.
I know. The Orange Beach. When's the first time you went to Orange Beach?
The first time I ever went to Orange Beach was when I was a KA at Alabama.
So you saw Orange Beach before it was a tourist attraction.
They were like, hey, we're going to Floribama. First time I ever went to Orange Beach was straight to Floribama. And I walked in and it was like the place was like a liquor store on the first floor. Like you walked straight in Everybody looked at you like you had 3 heads. And luckily for me, the person checking IDs didn't check very hard. Fake ID'd it right in, hung out with the guys, and I was in love from that point on, man. Like, I honestly, it's one
the best bar in America.
It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. I mean, I'm telling you that. Like, I swear, like, I go there and I feel so, like, I just feel like, man, I'm somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I like being.
No, you get that feel for sure. And you still have that old kind of antique feel, that upstairs room.
Oh yeah, well, the upstairs room was what the whole place was.
Yeah.
Did you go there when it was like that?
No, my dad's told me stories
told
about
you,
that
like,
being
it looks exactly the same, like, but it's kind of turned different,
Yeah.
You walk in there and you're like, beers are like $3 or $2 or something. Like, pretty cheap,
Oh yeah.
Great spot.
Well, that place, for years and years was, I mean, that was like it's crazy to see what it's turned into, really.
It's an enterprise now.
Oh yeah. John and Paul have done to that place is just insane.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, well, before they took over, I felt like it was a destination, but now it's like a destination with star power.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Think of all the songs that are like that reference it. Jimmy Buffett wrote
Bama Breeze
with that in mind.
I love that song.
Yeah, Kenny Chesney has a song called Floor Bama.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good song.
I love Bama Breeze when it's like 65, 70 degrees and you're out on a golf course somewhere. I mean, it is great.
I like to drink Bama Breeze.
I don't know if I ever had the Bama Breeze.
Yeah, which reminds me, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little pull here. I hang out with you. But yeah, we're almost to that time now. We're not there yet. It's still cold, but
yeah, as soon as deer season's over, I'm ready for it to warm up. Ready for that fall or that springtime. Of course, we don't get that big of a spring here or long of a spring, but that month of 65-degree weather, 65 to 80.
Mm-hmm. What's when you're playing like football during the spring camp? What's that like? The weather? I mean, I'm sure the weather's way better because I think that Coach Wommack's going to probably be explaining to Coach DeBoer that it gets hot as hell.
Yeah,
get ready for it.
But it's I guess the worst part about spring is it's starting to get hotter. It's still not terrible, nothing like camp, but there's no like end goal in sight. There's no game at the end of this. You got the spring game, but it's that's basically a practice with people in the stands.
Right.
Camp is way worse, but it's at least you have the season right there about to start.
Yeah.
What you've been working for all years right there at the end of the tunnel. But I mean, spring, you have a bad spring, you have a 2-hour practice, you could be running for another 30 minutes afterwards, depending on how bad or good that practice was.
Really?
Yeah, line up in the end zone. That was the worst part.
Were they like a lot of times, and I'm sure they probably were,
manufactured bad practices?
Well, they're probably looking at you and going, all right, Coker fucked up. Everybody on the line. I'm just kidding. I don't believe that at all.
The worst is when you're running at the end of practice and somebody jumps before coach says go. Like there would be no issue if you started, half a second late, but for some reason you got a half-speed hero trying to break a world record at the end of practice,
Right.
And then you got to rerun all those 40s, 50s, that was the worst part of it.
I hate it when I played on teams when I did something wrong and made everybody else have to run and stuff, like, because you get tired by the end.
Basketball practice, when you make both, you don't have to run, but if you make one, miss one, you got to run one. Or
be mostly like baseball practice, like being out of position on cutoffs and I don't know. I mean, you play baseball, you know what I'm talking about? Be like little things like you're
we used to have a hill, there's a hill at the high school I graduated from that is like, I mean, it's huge. And every time you made an error, Coach Sullivan dropped the bat and you just take off running. And you had to run up this damn hill. It was, I mean, you had to run 300 yards or more, and it was an incline like that. And so, you know, you have one or two errors at a practice, you know, you'd be worn out. You have three, and the whole team's ready to beat your ass in the locker room after it's over.
Right.
I mean,
Then you get done, and it's like you get done playing, and you know, like I got into broadcasting my last year of playing 2002, and then 2003 I was broadcasting baseball, and I miss it, man. You know, even to this day, there's times where I'll show up to the park and I'm like, man, I just want to go take BP.
Yeah.
And because I'm old and like it doesn't look like I can play. Once in a while I do, and I like hit the ball pretty good. And people are like, man, you know, like, well, like one day I used to be able to play this game, you know,
Yeah.
like nothing's changed. I mean,
No, yeah.
except maybe your endurance.
Yeah.
But I'm stronger now than I was back then, you know?
Yeah. I miss the
But
fun
I'm sore
part.
as shit for about a week later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest
BP would be fun.
Yeah.
I feel like I could still hit it a long way. I can still hit a golf ball a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I can still throw it, you know, decently well every now and then. But the throwing, the hitting, I mean, that's the fun part. I don't miss the surgeries and the training nonstop. You know,
Yeah, dude,
I mean, I work out
you play
every day for
level.
the most part. But,
yeah.
You know, just that's a different kind of.
Do you still feel those surgeries?
My left knee for sure.
Really?
Yeah, I can't do certain things, climbing stairs. I mean, but I felt that as soon as it was over and never went away.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, when cartilage is missing out of your knee, you'd never lose that. You never not feel that grind or whatever that is going on in there.
Yeah.
Knee giving out, you know.
Right. I'm excited about seeing what this offense looks like at Alabama. Like, I want to see. I mean, I guess I'm optimistic, but I'm always a kind of an internal optimist anyway. But I think that we're going to succeed with this new offense. I think we're going to move the ball and score points. I think that there's a lot of talent at the quarterback spot. I'm worried about the secondary because of all the transfers.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think that, you know, we'll be able to score. I like our running back room. You know, I can't wait to see Haynes a lot this year. And some of the other guys young. I mean, I want to see these guys, like, it's going to be good to have those guys being the mainstays, you know, what the offensive line's going to do. Like, I like the hire that they made. But until I see it out on the field, man, I just don't know what to think, you know?
That's why I keep saying, you know, at this point, I'm tired of even thinking about, you know, what the possibilities are almost. And if the offense looks good on paper, you had Michael Penix running it last year.
Yeah.
You know, his skill set is, I mean, it's not that similar to Jalen's. I mean, I'm hoping they can tailor that system to Jalen.
Jalen's a better athlete, but Penix
he's definitely a better athlete.
I mean,
you're talking about one of the better quarterbacks in terms of passing efficiency in college football.
Yeah, passing guys
in the last
open.
decade.
Right. I've liked Penix since he was in Indiana. He's so accurate, you know, like, but people, I feel like with Milroe, there's a divide, you know, there's people that love Milroe and there's people that look at only the things that he doesn't do well. And
that's
aren't fans
perfect description. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I wouldn't say it's probably 70-30, but it's a strong 70-30, you know, like there's, you know, the 30 that don't like him.
It's at least 30.
I think it might be 30. More than that.
I would say so. I mean, national media. I mean, they're all over Milroe.
But the guy, you know? the guy deserves more than that, though. I mean, he did win the SEC, and I know that the last game.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah, the last game, you know, it leaves that taste in your mouth. But if the offensive line would have blocked better, although people will say to me, Mick, he didn't do a good enough job of, you know, calling out the basically changing the play at the line of scrimmage, calling out the thing. You've talked about this before, not with him, but you got to be able to look at it and note what's going on, right? So I don't know enough about that. That's out of my pay grade.
But people that say that,
could that be Saban kind of mentioned it, I guess, in a post game show after the Rose Bowl, but
yeah, I don't know about that play. I mean,
you think it was just based on that one play?
And now just going back through my head, I can't remember. I know that a lot, there's a lot of people that were alleging that was the RPO, which very well could have and probably was, but you just don't know what was said, in and out of that headset, what the mindset was. If there was something left up to, Jalen to make the decision based off what he was seeing. There's just so much more to it than there was nothing that drove me more crazy than I remember we played LSU my senior year, and we just needed first downs on that final drive. I went and got breakfast with a buddy, and there was somebody with him that was like, yeah, when you hit OJ for that first down, I noticed Calvin really was wide open right behind him, and I was like, "Oh, you son of a," I was like, "Dude, I mean, you do what you can in that moment,
right?
To make sure and solidify a first down or whatever goal it is you're trying to reach." And there's different goals on every play based on the circumstances, and there's a lot there to interpret, and there's just more to it than, hey, this is a play, this is the front, this is what you're supposed to do. I mean, there's just a lot more that goes into it. So it's hard to just make one judgment based off the final play of the Rose Bowl,
right? Yeah.
I mean, he willed that team. Without him, that team doesn't go as far.
I agree.
And there were some plays. The only thing I'd say, there's a few plays in there where I thought he could have been more physical running the ball, and I felt like he needed to realize that his physicality in the rushing game was the key to winning.
Right.
At least that's how I felt. I mean, him throwing the ball was supplemental to his run game. What, they about to drop a tree on this building?
No, it's outside. I'm just hoping they don't drop it on my house. When you live down here and you got to worry about hurricanes, trees are not your friend. Unless they're live oaks or magnolias, but you've already said you don't like magnolias.
Yeah.
So
I love a clean cut, no tree yard.
Yeah, that's what I like too. But then you got to worry about the direct hit from the wind.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it. Great points though on Milroe. I think that going into camp, I'm telling you right now, I think it's an open competition.
Well, who's the third guy outside? I mean, I guess you got
it'd be Austin Mack,
freshman, or the young guy from Washington.
It'd be Milroe's job.
I've heard he can sling it around now.
Yeah, so have I. I mean, and he played with them for a year.
He's gonna have to get used to the speed though. It's a little different.
Would you say you're not in the Pac-12 anymore and wave at him like this?
If there was a Dylan Lee out there, yes.
Yeah, Dylan Lee would do that. So you got him. I would say he and Milroe would be Milroe 1, him 2. I would say that Ty Simpson's right there. I don't think there's much separation at all. And all we heard about
2 completely different styles. But all depends on what the coaches think fits best.
And then but then don't forget about Dylan. Dylan Lonergan was very good last year.
Yeah, I forgot.
And I'm talking about, you saw him. I heard from a lot of people that the guy's a very good quarterback.
Oh yeah, I heard he can
accurate, throw guys open, and I've said this before. I've got a famous story that I don't want to talk about who that was, but I was in a luxury box one time, and I said the most popular guy on the team is the backup quarterback. I didn't realize it was the guy's dad. But it's here nor there, okay? It's true. And then when that guy was quarterback, the next guy was the most popular guy on the team, right? The bottom line is this, that's true. But when Tua was the backup quarterback, I heard a lot of the same stuff, and then Tua eventually got in, and I'm telling you, he's my favorite Alabama quarterback. So
Yeah.
besides
Well,
you, Jake, I mean, you know, outside of you, he's...
yeah, I'm sure.
No, I mean, really, like, dude,
But that was two completely different styles of play too.
No, I was a fan of yours. I definitely was. You know that. I mean, before I didn't even know you. I mean, just I like a guy that can my if I'm offensive coordinator, and you know this,
Yeah.
I want somebody that can stretch the field, and I want a quarterback that's a passer. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm taken away from Milroe or anything, because I like his skill set too, and I know it's tough to stop somebody that runs that fast and can throw deep like him. But I mean, if I'm offensive coordinator, I like guys like you, and I like guys that can just like wing. I want to be able to wing it, but I think it's tougher to defend someone that just can make those throws like that, especially those deep out passes.
Well, the thing about
once you start hitting those, man, you really screw up the ability of the defense to be able, because you have to defend the perimeters now.
Yeah, I mean,
does that make sense?
When you're relying on the run game, you are a more consistent football team. When you rely on the pass game, I mean, there's so many variables that's
true too.
That can take place that you'll win games you shouldn't, you'll lose games you shouldn't.
Right.
And
you want to balance though.
When you're balanced and you can throw the ball, you can run and make it to the playoff if you're that talented. If you cannot throw the ball, then you're not going to win. I mean, it could happen, but
you're not going to beat the elite defense.
Statistics, you know, I mean, you're not going to beat the Georgias, or when I was playing the Clemsons, if you are just completely one-dimensional. And to me, it's better to be more one-dimensional towards the run game. But I mean, I can't stand throwing the ball, 60 times a game. But if you have a really good base foundation of running the football, and then you got a guy that can also make all the throws, I mean, it's hard to beat. If you're going to throw the ball every play, you're not going to win. Right. I mean, it's Washington had every opportunity to win that game, missed 3 or 4 big plays, and they're completely out of it.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's just so much that goes on in every pass play that, I mean, you're working on a lot of factors that have to go right in order, to be successful consistently.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to be that good when you throw the ball that much.
Yeah. The funny thing is
if they would have made I'm sitting here talking about our new coach. I mean, that was just a crazy sequence. But
yeah, look, if he would have made those passes, he probably wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't have won the Mike Johnson's football pick'em contest.
That's right.
Wouldn't have that money in my pocket.
Yeah. But hell, now every college team's doing this. I mean, they're all going the passing.
Yeah.
The more pass attack, pass happy.
Yeah.
Offenses. So,
except Georgia.
Yeah, except Georgia. But what does that tell you?
Yeah, but they win that way.
Yeah,
they're going to be tough to beat. I'm
if
very
you're physical up front, man, you're going to be good no matter what.
Very curious to see what that looks like when Alabama and Georgia match up. I'm curious to see how Alabama is able to stop the run on the perimeter without all of those guys that they lost, and that's the biggest thing that worries me about everything that happened last year this year when the transfer portal and all these guys are leaving. And I'm going, that was where we really, I thought, separated ourselves from them in that game, is that we were the only team that had the speed and also the power to stop them. Now, with that said, they also had some injuries in key spots, but you know what? We had injuries in key spots when they beat us last time. So that's part of the game too.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, we talk about that national championship when we lost our 2 best receivers all the time.
Yeah. They don't beat us if that happens.
No, they don't. All right, I'm gonna get a half of a blue moon.
Okay, well then send that over here. Yeah. I mean, you're the one that ate bone broth today. You need that.
Yeah, I'm looking at that blue moon handle. I'm like, oh man, that sounds good.
It's a wonderful pour today too.
Not jacking it up today, huh?
No. Look at that.
Well, who do you think's in the playoff next year? Well, if you had a 4-team playoff next year, who do you think would be in it? I'd go ahead and scratch Michigan.
And Ohio State, and Georgia. You can go ahead and pencil them in.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, man. I think we'll be there, but I mean, I kind of got to see what we
In
look
the top
like.
4.
I just don't see us falling that far back, man. I know it's going to be a different.
I think we
look,
make the top 12, top 4. It'd be tough.
Yeah, I mean, but
how awesome! I mean, I'll be honest. I'm been a little selfish here. If there's a home game playoff game,
you want to go to.
I mean, that would be insanity. You think about the atmosphere in Bryant-Denny when you're playing at home during a playoff game.
Yeah.
That's what I'm most excited about with this new playoff. It's going to be so. I mean,
hopefully we have
all these stadiums are going to be crazy.
Hopefully we have a bye though.
Well, I mean,
but I know what you mean. If it happened, right? Yeah. No, I think we'll.
So you got Ohio State. You got
Ole Miss is
Georgia.
going all in.
I'm not putting Ole Miss in the top 4 yet.
I'm just saying into the 12 though.
They'll be in the 12. They'll be in the top 12. Is Jackson Dart coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah, then they'll be in the top 12. I bet they'll be a 7 seed next year.
They don't play us, so that'll be one less loss they take.
What about Tennessee? Who's Tennessee's quarterback next year?
They got that guy Nico. I don't know how they're going to do. Honestly, I don't know.
Texas, you think Texas is rebounding?
Texas will be back, no doubt.
And then about Florida State, they've lost a lot of people.
Yeah, Clemson though, we'll see. I think Clemson eventually is going to come back.
Outside of DeBoer, who would you have wanted as our head coach?
You know the answer to that. Dabo all the way. I wanted Dabo from over DeBoer.
Let's see.
I hate that we didn't talk to him, but I think that his contract was where you couldn't really get him. Like it was like a really high buyout. And DeBoer's great. But man, I just think Dabo would have done a great job too. I think he would have been re-energized. The problem with him is that he's got to figure out the transfer portal, the NIL stuff. I mean, you can't.
He's old school.
But that's not going to work.
I mean, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like it just isn't working. And a lot of people say that. And I agree with them. You know, you've got to be able to change with the times, man. Yeah. You don't want to be the old guy that's like in the corner of the room, like unwilling to make the adjustments, right?
Well, then you're sitting there and everybody thinks they love you, but it's like it's best we move on.
Yeah,
like the Bobby Bowden situation.
Yeah, I mean, and that's in life. I think that's in life in general. You know, like I upgrade my phones. Because this is a 15, because I don't want to be the old guy that doesn't know how to do technology.
Yep.
You know, like because I feel like that's kind of the start of, you know, like falling out, you know, like when grandparents don't know how to use a VCR and it's like put the damn thing in there, hit a button and it plays.
Oh yeah.
You know, like all of that stuff's like, that's not that they were stupid. They just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I think that coaching's a lot like that, where you got to stay young, man. And being around young people keeps you young.
Oh, yeah.
I see people that I went to high school with, and it looks like Father Time was pissed off at them and beat their ass. Like maybe because I spent my life around sports. You know what I mean? I look like their kid.
I hope I'm helping you a little bit.
Yeah, you come in, I look like their kid. I'm just kidding. You know what I mean, though. You know, like you just got it's so much of it's a state of mind, but it's also a willingness to, you know, not to put yourself in a spot where you don't appreciate like the, you know, what it is to progress into that next thing. You know? And for Dabo, that's what's killed him. So I would have loved.
Well, that's what we did. We had to take all that we in Alabama. I may have brought this up already. We had to take all these like aptitude tests and personality tests, like all the the seniors and leadership had to take all these personality tests, and so we went over it actually with Rashawn Evans' mom. She's a psychologist, and we went over each guy's in the room. We went over each guy's personality and their traits, and it all matched up. And then Coach Saban did it as well, and she went over Coach Saban's personality, and one of the main things that stuck out to me was one of the things she said was how open he was in inviting new ideas, new thought processes, new techniques. He's always open to learning and adjusting based on new philosophies. And when you sit there and you think about all the things that he implemented in his program, especially recruiting and on offense, I mean, it holds true to everything he's done throughout his career. Just always finding a new edge and finding somebody to help him implement that, and incorporating into it his own methodology.
Yeah, great point. Let's talk a little basketball before we get out of here. Boys took care of business again on Saturday. They just they shoot the three. It looks like they're having a good time playing. Their defense is not that good, but their offense is really good. And when they're hitting, man, they're a tough team to beat. I just got this feeling, and I might be totally off, that they're going to be really tough in the tournament this year. And they got a chance to win another SEC, and I think we've talked about it here. I've talked about it on my other shows. If Alabama wants to continue to have a basketball program, they need to figure out the deal with the field house or the new gym, because we got somebody right now I don't want to lose. It's crazy, man. This guy is at the top of the heap every year.
Always bring guys in. Always the pace of play is the most exciting thing that nobody's seen at Alabama before ever. Most efficient team in basketball.
Yeah.
And really, you look at them this year, and you almost feel like it's somewhat of a down year in comparison to last year, and we're the top team in terms of who's in the best driver's seat to win the SEC regular season title.
Yeah.
Because when I watch, and I always say, shooting the three ball is kind of like relying on the pass game in football, on a consistent basis to win you the most amount of games. We fire up threes, and I've always thought that was an inconsistent way to play. But hell, every year he coaches, he's been in Alabama, 5 years, won 4 SEC titles, whether it be regular season or the tournament.
Oh yeah. 2 regular seasons.
So his way
and 2 tournaments.
Is about as consistent as possible. It's hard to do in the tournament, but in the span of a year, my gosh, the guy he can't lose.
We were always like middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Like once in a while we might break out and have a decent year. Our basketball program is better than Kentucky's.
Yeah.
That to me is really saying something.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Now when Kentucky comes to town, it's like football. It's Kentucky comes to town. Now you're upset that we lose to them.
Yeah, that's right.
Whereas prior to that, you just hope we lost by less than 10 points.
We always played them tough, but we weren't better. Now it's like,
now we bully them.
And we do, man. And there's 6 games left. There's some big games coming up. I can't wait for, this week they play
Kentucky Saturday.
They play Kentucky Saturday. They play Florida at
Wednesday.
Coleman Coliseum Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Then eventually they play Tennessee at home again.
Tennessee the next Saturday. I think Ole Miss prior to that, which Ole Miss is pretty good.
I know.
I think they're like 19-7 or something like that.
And I wouldn't mind going up there and watching that Tennessee game. It'd
be awesome,
time, man.
It'd be awesome. It's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. If it was like early enough, we should go. I don't really like I like the sun to set on me in Baldwin County. So But no, I love it going up there. Like I haven't been, and I don't think Coleman Coliseum is a good home court advantage. They've made it one.
Yeah.
But you see what like Auburn's like, and I've done games
Man,
broadcasted.
that was a
Cameron
great game to watch Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
They weren't real loud at the end.
No, they all camped out to get their ass whooped.
Oh yeah,
but they still camped out, man. There's still a lot of excitement around their basketball program.
They'd camp out again too. They'd camp out if Alabama came and played them.
Yeah,
next week.
We can have a basketball program like that, but you got the arena's got to be. It can't feel
you
like
gotta pretend. You gotta at least pretend you care. You know,
right? And I feel like,
and I know they are. I know they're trying.
It's just not there, dude. Like you got to go in and it needs to feel like you're in a.
Why don't they just redo it instead of?
Because the way that it's laid out, it's not high enough. I don't think, like it's
when
just,
you sit up top, it seems like you're forever away.
Oh yeah, you sit up top and you might as well just walk into everybody's offices that are around that top walkway. Like everything about that place, it says bulldozer to me. And look, I graduated from there. Like I walked through there. I've called games in there, men's and women's games. I ran on the court and when they won the SEC in 2002. Like I've had some fond memories there, but it's just not that good of an arena, and you're too far back, and it's just, we got this coach that we got to keep. We just got to do everything we can. We got to put we've always been like, hey, what would it be like to have like a real basketball program? Now we got one. And all I hear is like excuses. Oh, the money, it's NIL, it's this and that. What's going to happen is somebody's going to come in from like Louisville and they're going to be like, hey man, we'll pay
Ohio State. They just fired their coach.
Yeah, we'll pay you double. We got a better arena. We got money for NIL. Come here.
Ohio State's got it. They got it.
Right. And I'm telling you,
I've been nervous about hearing that because he was number one on their list. I mean, he's number one on everybody's.
That's my point.
Kentucky, when they get tired of losing to Alabama, I mean,
that's another school.
They're going to promise. I mean, they're going to get him whatever he wants.
Yeah, and
because Calipari, I mean, I know he's been upper echelon SEC, but that's still not. That's like Alabama football. That's just,
Kentucky had my cousin on there for a while, Billy Gillispie. And it was a sad collapse. It was a sad collapse. When I say cousin, like, we're related somehow. If you spell your last name like I spell my last name, we are related. My grandfather told me that it's like 5th or 6th cousins or something. And I mean, and that guy got chewed up and spit out in 2 years there.
Yeah.
And that's a tough job. You got to go in and be successful. Calipari's like there now, and it's like it just isn't. He's not winning enough.
Yep. Well, I will say this: the SEC's gotten a lot better since he was hired. Because back in, you had Arkansas and Florida.
Yeah.
Outside of Kentucky.
Right.
Kentucky up here, Florida and Arkansas, and everybody else is just, there weren't any other really great programs in terms of basketball. And now all of a sudden, half the teams are ranked.
Yeah.
And it's flip-flop. Arkansas is bottom of the barrel SEC now. You got Alabama, South Carolina, Auburn. Who else is good? Ole Miss pretty good, but it's just crazy the way that things have changed.
Yeah.
But he's got to compete. It's just a guy from Alabama or Florida, Mississippi, Georgia. If Florida or Arkansas offered them, and then all of a sudden Kentucky came in, it was a done deal. You're going to Kentucky. Now, not so much.
No. You're a big basketball guy, though. You could dunk back in high school. You're a hoopster. And I got to tell you, man, I think that it's a great idea that if Bama wins the SEC, that you do grow a Grant Nelson mustache.
It's about all I can grow. The mustache.
Is that about as good as you could do?
Get some trash down here.
No trash down there. You got it just got to be
just
like
mustache.
Just the stash across the top.
You know, the problem is since the mustache is really all I can do, I'll shave that and I got a little bit of stuff down here, but even when I shave, you're like, you growing a mustache?
Yeah. I see one right now.
I'm like, you don't know me that well.
It's like
I've been dealing with this train wreck for 15 years.
It looks a lot like what Jimmy Buffett sang about, that pencil thin mustache, Boston black haired kind. I like that though. Roll with it, man. Now Grant Nelson, that dude's got some style, man. I like this team.
I like him too.
Griffin, I like him. I like Sears. You can't not like him. Estrada's a pretty good ball player.
Yeah. Pringle. I love Pringle. He's an Alabama guy to me.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of Memphis the other day. I was looking for your boy Quinterly on there. They were getting killed by SMU.
Alabama, he'd help out so much. We need a motor. We need somebody that just. We need a trash. He's not trash, but what we need is a big guy that just beats the hell out of people.
Right. The guy that went to the NBA last year is pretty much it.
Yeah.
What was his name? The big dude.
From Canada.
Yeah, I could see him, but he had a really good finish to the season, and then
he was dominant towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Last year's team was way better, and this year's team is going to make a bigger run. That's my prediction. That's my prediction.
I hope we're just hot. I mean, one of the most fun to me, the SEC tournament is some of my favorite basketball watching times.
Yeah.
And once you get to the NCAA tournament, it's just so chaotic.
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to win, even if you're the better team. Like last year, we lost to San Diego State. Of course, they did go to the finals, but I mean, you just never know what's going to happen.
Devastating loss, man.
Oh, I know.
God, that one.
I didn't even watch the rest of the tournament.
Me
I
neither.
was just like,
me neither, man.
Lost interest.
It's the first time I really had Bama as a national champion in a basketball tournament.
Yeah.
And thinking like they could do it.
Oh yeah.
Because there wasn't really a dominant. There was no dominant force.
UConn, they beat the hell out of us in the regular season. So I mean, that'd been pretty tough. But
we had.
That was the only time we went in, and I was like, we're going to win the national championship.
We had players everywhere. Well, we have. You know what? We've put in an hour and 40 minutes, and it's been fun. Anything that you want to add before we wrap it up for today?
If you're thinking about buying a grill,
trigger over egg.
Trust me.
Okay. Are they comparably priced?
I think so. I think Traeger's cheaper.
Is it?
Yeah.
Get you over here.
And all these guys, these freaking meatheads, they're like, "Oh, I can get an egg up to 1,000 degrees."
Literal meathead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You got some. I know you don't have to announce any now, but I think you got some good guests lined up for us.
Yeah. Well, we talked about John Lieber before. I'm excited about him.
Oh, that'd be great.
Josh Donaldson lives right down the road.
Does he?
Here. Yeah.
But he's still playing.
I don't think he signed anybody this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's he live?
Down here somewhere.
Really? I knew he was an Auburn guy.
Then, he's an Auburn guy. Then Jake Peavy, you got Jake Peavy too, of course. I've spoken to John Lieber. I'm not talking to Jake, and I don't know Josh, but it would be cool to just having watched Josh play and how emotionally he plays.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to hear some of his stories.
When he got traded by the Cubs to the A's, I had one scout in the organization tell me that they thought it was the stupidest trade we could have made.
Trading him away?
Oh, yeah. Before he even played in the big leagues.
When he was with the A's?
Cubs traded him to the A's.
Oh.
He went in a deal, and the guy was off the record conversation, and he was like, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to get him in here. I know the whole story, so I would love to see what his thoughts are. But he's a fiery dude, man, and people don't always know how to take that.
Oh yeah. Hey, I love it. I love a guy like that. Just plays with his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah. Who's the most fiery guy you played with at Alabama?
At Alabama, Kenyon Drake would get fired up. He'd get fired up pretty good. The D line, I mean, they were the whole defense, really. I mean, Cyrus Jones was pretty quiet. You almost have to go and opposite of fiery because there's so many guys that would get worked up. I mean, the defense, camp, you knew there was going to be a handful of fights every week because those guys, I mean, it was just so intense. Gino and Cyrus were probably the most level-headed, calm guys out there that had to calm everybody down.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, Reggie was pretty calm, but he'd get fired up too now. And then Marlon Humphrey was a pretty calm guy.
Was he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Then outside of that, you just had a bunch of maniacs just ready to decapitate somebody on the football field.
Right. Let's go.
But hopefully, I guess that's my takeaway. I want to see some hard-nosed, smash-mouth ball this year because I know that the temperament's going to change from up top, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think you got to have some ruthless players,
right?
To balance that out.
Yeah,
and that's what I want to see. Some guys just want to not just win, but just dominate, and they're going to be pissed off they don't win by a certain amount of points.
Right. Yeah. Well, fun conversation. When are you coming back? What day are we going to do the next one? Thursday.
Let's do Thursday.
You got Thursday. We'll do it again on Thursday. Keep us updated on your diet.
Yep. Beer didn't help.
No, but you deserve it. I mean, you drank bone broth today, so.
Yeah. Didn't have a beer this weekend either.
Really?
Yep. No beer during the Alabama game or the Kentucky Auburn game, or just chilled out.
Yeah. And for me, light beer is that way. It's like not drinking beer.
Yeah. I guess when you just like playing golf, and as long as you stick to the light beers, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Just say, but I'm with you, man. I mean, I've cut way back too, so it's not. It was dry January, and then
football season is just the time to kick back, watch football, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Spring rolls around. It's time to.
It's almost boat season, and the last thing I need is to be fat on the boat. You know what I mean? That sun gets you, that shirt comes off, and people are like, "Oh, I put that shirt back on."
They won't let you park your boat on the beach.
No.
I'm just kidding. I've seen some disasters on that beach.
I don't want to be one of those.
Seen a few eyesores in my day.
Oh, please. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Again, Elephant in the Room, part of Disrupt the Media, guys. Please comment. Make sure that you're a part of our channel. Share the show too. I mean, as we try to build this, we appreciate all of you guys and hanging out with us here. I want to remind you that we're brought to you by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. 50% price match with the promo code next round up to $1,000 on that initial bet. And Lance's Lock, our friend Lance Taylor, locking it down right now with college basketball, the NBA, and you can get a lot of help and information as you kind of throw out those bets this spring. So, and baseball as well. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will talk to you again soon, and roll Tide.